Good morning. Welcome to Coffee and Contracts and welcome to Punta Mirante. This is our model home and our guest today is Baja Legal. We got an email about a month ago talking about cryptocurrency deals in real estate. And I personally have never been a part of a crypto deal. Has anyone that's here or connected been a part of a crypto deal? Well, I'm excited. I don't know anything about it, and we have two experts. You know, when you do one or two deals, you're an expert immediately. And from what I understand, Baja Legal has done 2 transactions already with cryptocurrency. And why don't you introduce yourselves as representatives of Baja Legal?
Well, we're very happy to be here. Crypto is something that is changing every day. I'm Mariana. I'm a senior associate at Baja Legal. I studied in Mexico City in Universidad Iberoamericana, and after that I wanted to pursue more of my studies, and I made a master's degree at Cornell University. And right now we're dealing with a lot of these things, so that's why we thought it would be a very interesting talk to have with you guys. Anna?
Hi everyone, thank you very much for having us here. So my name is Anna Salmerón. I am a senior associate as well at Baja Legal Group. And I studied at Anáhuac University, and after that, just before joining Baja Legal Group, I went to Cornell Law School to have my master's degree from there. And I also think that this is a really interesting topic, since even though that crypto assets have started in the first decade of this century, we have seen like a lot of changes in the recent years. So it is important to start thinking about what is going to happen with this and how it can be related to real estate.
Excellent. So we're not going to get into the process and mechanics of a real estate closing. The assumption is that all of us know how a real estate transaction and closing goes down. So the very first question, what does Mexican law say about paying for real estate with crypto assets?
Okay, so first of all, the first thing that we have to look at is the monetary law in Mexico. Monetary law has several articles, but the main articles that came to our mind at this time, it's Article 1st and Article 8. So here it is stated that the official currency in Mexico must be peso, and also that all transactions must be stated in Mexican pesos. So when you go through the public deeds, you can see that it is always stated like, the purchase price is this amount in dollars, which is equivalent to this amount in Mexican pesos, according to the Diario Oficial de la Federación. That's why we have so many changes in the exchange rate when we are closing these deals. So it is mainly because the monetary law states that all transactions must be, or all obligations must be taken into consideration in Mexican pesos when they are celebrated in Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so our normal transaction, because most of the real estate in Los Cabos is stated in US dollars, that means there's a conversion that's done, both in the price that's inscribed in the deed or the fideicomiso, and also the currency that's exchanged between buyers and sellers, especially if it's a Mexican seller that wants Mexican pesos. How does that differ now with cryptocurrency? Well, let me go to my next question. What does paying with crypto actually look like on a property deal? Walk us through that process.
Okay, so like going back a little bit to the first question, when we say that we have to make the exchange and that this amount gets converted according to the Diario Oficial de la Federación, when we have crypto assets, it does not work in that way because according to Mexican law, they are not considered a currency. So we can do transactions, but we won't do it like a purchase and sale transaction. Instead, we will celebrate an exchange transaction. Exchanges, according to the civil code in the state, have almost the same regulation as purchase and sale transactions have. However, here, the main difference is that one person that has an object and wants to exchange it with another person that has another object. Here we will having someone that has a property in Cabo or in any other part of the state, and someone else that has cryptocurrencies, and they are willing to exchange these, like exchange the cryptocurrencies per the property.
The two transactions that you've done, were they in Los Cabos or other part of Baja Sur?
No, they were actually made in Mexico City.
In Mexico City?
Yeah. Mexico City currently has more notaries that are already more aware about cryptocurrency and how the exchange contract works. So right now here, we have talked to several notaries that already understand how the transaction will work. And we've had a couple of clients that have already asked us, like, can I do it this way? But in the end, since it's something very new, the clients have chosen not to go for it.
Right.
But I think it's a matter of weeks or months until somebody actually says that they want to do it like that.
So both transactions in Mexico City, were they residential or commercial?
They were residential.
And were they price point wise more than like upper price point or regular average?
It's regular average, and I think another question that you will see is that the value that you give the cryptocurrency, it's a big question because it's not like the peso or the dollar, you actually know the value.
Yeah.
So crypto, it has a value, but it's very volatile, and at the same time, you cannot really know that. So if you want, I can start explaining that. Or
That
we
would be
can
great
wait.
if you can dive into that,
Yeah.
establishing the value of the crypto.
So what is happening is that first you will need to appraise the property that you're buying with the regular appraisal that we all know here, which is the cadastral appraisal. And in addition to that, you would have to make a commercial appraisal that will give us the actual commercial value of the property, just to be certain of the value of the property. And then in other countries, there are experts that can appraise the value of the crypto that you're using. Here in Cabo, we don't have those experts yet. So the advice would be to use corredor público or a notary, which is a kind of notary, a different type of notary, that is able to assess the value of that cryptocurrency. So knowing the commercial appraisal of the property, the cadastral appraisal of the property, and the appraisal of the crypto, then you would be able to know the exchange contract that you will be able to do.
Okay. And that's the day of the closing because of the volatility?
No, it needs to be made before so that you know the transaction. And
Right.
My suggestion or our suggestion would be that you have to set it at certain price.
Yeah.
So that is a risk for people that have crypto. You never know if in 1 month you will lose everything or you will make double. So that's one of the risks.
So I think what could be done, because we do deal with the Mexican peso and US dollar exchange rate all the time. And many times the one side or the other is Mexican or there's a bank involved. So the exchange rate doesn't line up exactly what the seller's anticipating or the buyer or both. And in the contingencies, a lot of times we write in a clause that is kind of like a catch-up clause. So that in cases of that, you make it balanced.
It is different.
But I would say in both of those transactions, did the seller want the crypto?
Yes, both of the parties were interested in having the crypto. I mean, obviously, if the seller doesn't even know crypto, is not interested, he's going to say no. But in this case, both of these people were people that know these things, that were interested. So definitely it needs to be a mutual agreement. In this case, they were nationals. That's also something to discuss because when you as a foreigner buy property here in Cabo, you know that you need to get the trust. So we still don't know how some banks will react to this. To this point, it seems like there hasn't been really an issue, but our first recommendation would be if that's going to be the way to go, then create a Mexican corporation, and that way you can buy as a national.
Mariana, why would a bank care unless there was a mortgage on the property?
Well, because in the end, the bank takes part on the legal title, and it's not going to be an actual purchase-sale agreement. It's going to be what Ana was explaining, which is an exchange agreement. Yeah.
So the bank that's involved is doing...
The fiduciary bank.
Oh, so in both cases there were fideicomisos
No.
involved?
No, they were national, so there were no fideicomisos
So it was just
involved.
pure
Exactly.
escritura.
Yeah.
Okay.
If the crypto is going to the seller, can the crypto instead be converted into pesos or dollars, whatever the case would be, instead of receiving the crypto to the seller? Is that an option?
Well, it will depend again on the agreement. So the particular case will have to be like analyzed. But in this case, we have also to keep in mind that for making this conversion to crypto to pesos, we will have to, or it will be needed to use a platform for this, and with all the risks that using this platform has. So people that it is involved in these transactions have to be aware of how the whole process works and how they have to create it, they have to create an account. Because one particular thing about the crypto assets is that they cannot be exchanged like physical exchange. Everything is done electronically. So that is something that we have to be analyze the particular situation for that.
What are the tax and appraisal implications on crypto deals?
For taxes related, as in any other purchase and sale transaction, we'll have to make a calculation on capital gains that is different from Mexicans and from foreigners. And you can also have reverse capital gains. And again, the calculation, it will depend on how much the purchase price was, how much is the value of the property and the assets and the crypto assets according to the appraisals that we get, and which are the deductions that can be done. So,
can you use, as an example, just numbers of the two deals you did, and if you remember?
Well, they
how that
haven't.
was?
We haven't had the capital gains because it hasn't been sold again.
Okay.
So in that case, we were not in charge of that part of the deal.
Okay.
So we cannot really give you.
But for the seller of those
Yeah,
deals,
we were not a part of the seller transaction.
You were on the buy side.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, capital gains.
Okay.
Imagine that you have a Ferrari and you want to change the Ferrari for a property. It's completely possible here in Cabo and in the rest of Mexico. So the best way to do this is the buyer needs to accept to give you the Ferrari in exchange of the property, and the seller needs to accept the Ferrari as payment of the property. You're going to appraise the Ferrari. You're going to appraise the property, and if is there any difference between it, who have a more benefit is going to pay reverse capital gains. The seller of the property, he's going to pay capital gains as in any other case, taking into account the basis of how much he paid and how much he's going to receive according to the appraisal. But it's the same. You need to imagine this exchange as any other asset, a car, a piece of art, or whatever. It's going to be the same.
But the SAT won't collect cryptocurrency. They want pesos. The notary, right?
Yes, like that's why you need to make this as an exchange,
Right.
not like a purchase agreement.
Yep. Can buyers split the payment between crypto and another currency?
Yes, that is actually a great question. So, as Anna explained, if you're paying with crypto, you will need to do an exchange agreement. But as per the Baja California Sur law, if you're going to pay in money, in pesos or dollars, more than half of the property, then you actually have a purchase-sale agreement. A purchase-sale agreement, and vice versa. If you're going to buy more than half with crypto, then you're going to have to do an exchange agreement. So yes, you can mix money and crypto. However, if you're including crypto in the transaction, you're going to have to get the appraisals and all of that just to value the.
And if
the
it's
crypto.
50-50, then you need the exchange
The law
contract
says
and
it's 50 or more. So it's starting
Yeah.
at 50.
what challenges and opportunities emerge does this emerging market bring to Los Cabos?
I think what I mentioned before, the fact that we don't have the experts to appraise the cryptocurrency. There are other ways to assess this amount, but I think that is one of the biggest challenges. Another challenge is the inscription before public registry. We know for a fact that in Mexico City it happens, but here the public registry works different than in Mexico City. We have already talked with the directors of public registry. It doesn't seem like there would be an issue, But here you never really know how things are going to work. So I think, as always, when it's something new and people don't know, there might be some kind of resistance at the beginning or challenges. But we have talked to notaries, to appraisers, to public registry people, and probably the first transaction will be a little bit more complicated than a regular purchase and sale agreement, but we don't see that there would be a major challenge that could affect this type of transactions.
For the 2 deals in Mexico City, how much longer did the closing take, or was it just as fast?
Well, let's consider that every closing that are between nationals is very fast. It's not like here that it can take 2 or 3 months because of the trust. So it was a little bit longer, but more than everything because of the contracts and the negotiations that the parties needed to do between them.
Percentage-wise, was it 10% longer, 20%?
Maybe 10 or 20%.
Okay, not huge.
Not huge.
And do you think in time that will be lowered?
Definitely. I mean, once that notaries and people are more accustomed to these new practices, it will definitely be faster. It's like with everything, probably here when any of us started working with trusts, it takes a little bit longer. And then once you get used to it, you can start doing closings much faster. So it's going to be the same.
Do you think it'll be faster than a traditional closing?
No, because you still need to get all the technical documents. And remember that we need to include a commercial appraisal and we need to include the appraisal for the crypto. So I don't think, at least not now, I don't think it's going to be faster. It's going to be maybe at the most the same. But
what surprises me is that you said it was a normal kind of price point for those deals. In my mind, crypto is for the sophisticated, affluent people, and that wasn't the case.
I think crypto is surprisingly something that a lot of people is doing. Like even I'm not very technological. I have an app that makes everything easier. So yeah, I mean, I think it depends. There's market for everything.
Okay, if you do a lot of traditional closings at Baja Legal, if you're a developer, what would you be doing in today's market, knowing that crypto is on the horizon, the immediate horizon? What could you be doing as a developer?
I would be putting as an option that you can pay with crypto, definitely.
So they have to have their crypto wallet?
Yeah.
Okay, I think there's probably a lot of rabbit holes to go down here. So my question is, if you're going cryptocurrency to cryptocurrency from buyer to seller, they agree to an amount of that cryptocurrency sometime before, call it a week or 2 days. So both buyer and seller in their contract have to agree to absorb or gain either a loss or a gain. So one side's probably going to lose a little, the other side will gain a little bit. So that's in their agreement that they agree that they're going to set the price sometime in advance of the closing, and whatever happens by the time it closes is what it is, correct? Are there any proof of origin for funds for anti-money laundering laws when it comes to cryptocurrency? So you can't pay cash, right? So how do you prove that the cryptocurrency satisfies Mexican anti-money laundering laws?
Okay, so this is a really interesting question because on anti-money laundering laws, there is like some regulations about crypto, but this is not responsibility of take care of these regulations for the buyer or the seller. It's responsibility for the notary public that is involved in all this transaction. And regarding all the changes that can we have on the value of the crypto, it is part of the risk that people that is getting involved in these transactions is assuming, but getting involved in a transaction with crypto. Again, it can be like some covenants on the contracts, but it will apply to how that contract was drafted, like the offer to purchase and everything.
The difference is if the seller wants to keep the pesos, so they want to exchange US dollars to pesos or receive the pesos because they don't plan on transferring it. You see what I mean? Yeah. So a seller that's willing to do a crypto sale, they want the crypto. Right. So it doesn't matter. Yeah. I think, in
Yeah,
most
my
cases.
only comment was because it is a lot more volatile than the exchange rate between dollars and pesos.
In that regard as well, I mean, the volatility is a big topic in cryptocurrency, but there's more and more efforts by regulations and as well by governments. Like the US government, I think, has passed a bill 2 weeks ago that is as well regulating stablecoins. So basically the stablecoins that have a one-to-one value, $1 is worth one coin. Those are now backed actually, or are trying to be backed by the US government. So there's actually real world cash assets linked to that coins. And you always know actually the value of a coin, and you don't have the volatility spikes that you see in Bitcoin, Ethereum, or other things.
If you're investing in Bitcoin, it's not the same, right?
But you can still always transfer. You could sell your Bitcoin and change your Bitcoin into stable coins and then make the transaction over that.
That's what they're called, stable coins?
They're
Yes.
attached to the US dollar.
Right.
In order to have a certain appraisal for that specific purpose, you have to have an appraiser. And there are only 3 appraisers in the whole Mexico. And my last thing is that, how about the escrow? There's no way to do the escrow in this way.
I didn't hear your...
If you're doing the sale by this way, how do you send the funds to the escrow?
You're not going to go to the escrow.
There's no escrow here.
No escrow.
But the way to secure the closing is going to be like send the 10% in US dollar, and I will get you back that money once you pay the crypto. So you will have the 10% according to the MLS to block the closing and state as a pending. Once you pay with your crypto, the escrow is going to give you back the money.
But how do you how do you secure that sale with the first funds given, in this case, to the seller?
There are a couple of options. The way we have think about it is using a regular escrow with US dollars. Send the 10% of US dollars. The buyer will send it to escrow. Once he transfers the crypto, he will get back the money to his account. The other way, there are a couple of options in cryptocurrency world. There are some platforms that you could send it as a stablecoin. So the other way is send it there, and the wallet will be shared with the other buyer with some conditions. We already talked about with a Mexican company that is going to provide that service here in Cabo for our future closings, and they accept that strategy.
Nice.
But only in a stablecoin.
So is this with transactions that are just seller to buyer and no agents involved, or these transactions have agents involved because then the agents want to get paid and they have to be agreeable to accept crypto, correct? Or are they going to have to make a separate agreement with the seller how they're getting paid?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it will depend entirely on the agents involved. Maybe some agents are interested in getting crypto. Maybe it would be an option to make a separate agreement for the commission, the payments of the commissions. That's a very particular case. In Mexico City, agents are not as regulated as here at all. So we were not involved either in that part. I think they were paid regularly with pesos. So I think that's a great question, and it's something that we will need to analyze upon every transaction that we get, and it will depend on the agents or their agency.
This could be a super silly question, but what about prorating the costs like the HOAs and the water and the taxes? I don't think though you can pay your water in crypto. How does that work?
I think that could be tied into what Jonathan is talking about, which is you open a traditional escrow account where 10% goes in there, and maybe, so it's not 100% of the purchase price goes with crypto, but it's 5% or 10%, right? Yes. And the agent's commission. Exactly. Maybe.
Actually, like capital gains and taxes
Of
and
course,
everything
that's
needs
true.
to be paid with pesos. We cannot take like crypto for that.
Anything online that Baja Legal has put or any PDF document?
The one that we
we
send
could-
you is,
Yeah.
we are updating as well with more regulations that we find every week. We are going to open our newsletter for our clients in October. This October is our 5th anniversary, so we are going to do a lot of changes in our firm. One of that is going to be the newsletter that you will have every month.
Best way to get in touch with Baja Legal?
Well, we have our emails. We're very responsive also on WhatsApp if you have any questions. We're going to leave here some cards if you have any other question. And then we're also in social media. We have an Instagram account. So yeah, I mean, I think everybody here already has our contact information, but we're still gonna leave some cards.
Next question. Okay, Begonia.
Hello. So I just wanted to know a little bit of how is the capital gain going to be working with the crypto coins? How is it going to be managed? You know? Yeah, basically, how is the capital gain going to be working with the crypto coins?
Okay, so for the property, as Jonathan explained it, it will work like how much you purchase and how much is the value, and depending on how much are you having of, how much is your actual
Wins?
wins? Yeah, is going to how
Can we
much
use an example?
for
Fictitious example.
well, yeah, when you
With real numbers.
Oh, okay. So if you are selling a property, capital gains are going to be calculated for the seller.
How much is the property?
Like the property, I don't know, like exact numbers depends on.
Let's say 500,000. Say
Okay.
the seller wants 500,000 US dollars for their house. And someone that is wants to buy with cryptocurrency, is offering, I don't know what that, Bitcoin. And I don't know how many, 5 Bitcoins? It's about 100,000? Okay. And the seller bought the property at the equivalent of, say, 400,000 US dollars.
First, we have to update the 400,000. How much was it then and how much is now? Once we update that value, then we have to know how many deductions
Okay,
we
so
can
it
have.
was back in 2010 when it was 10 pesos to the US dollar. So it was 4 million pesos cost basis for the seller, and now they're selling at 500,000 US at, let's say 20 to 1, 10 million. Let's assume, the assumption for this example, no inflation, or the inflation's already factored into
The difference between that will be the 4 million pesos that you pay versus the 10 million that you will receive.
6 million.
6 million. So for that 6 million, you will pay as a foreigner the 25 or the 35%. It will depend which route we will use. But that will be exactly the way to calculate that. The most difficult part will be the reverse capital gains in this thing, because you will have an asset that is going to be the Bitcoin, that maybe you will have 5 Bitcoins, and the appraisal would say that 5 Bitcoin is equivalent to maybe 12 million pesos. And you have the property value in 10 million pesos. So the difference between those is 2 million pesos in favor of who is going to receive the Bitcoin. So in that case, who is going to receive the Bitcoin is going to pay as national 20%, as foreigner the 25% on the difference between that 2 million pesos. So it's something really difficult sometimes to understand without drawing something. So
Yeah.
But that's like the math. And inflation plays a really important factor, because in 2020 we have a huge inflation factor.
What is that, roughly speaking?
As far as I remember, it was almost 10 or 11. I don't remember exactly. Maybe Oscar will have that number. Any businessman never is going to forget the inflation factor of that year.
But that's the inflation factor that's used for capital gains taxes.
Yeah, so you need to use the inflation. You need to reduce the price of the constructions and update and the price of the land. So it's not as simple as just talking about it. It takes, like, every calculation that we made take us between 45 minutes to 1 hour. It's complicated, but that's like the general rule to understand how. The most important thing here, as a difference with the capital gains of a common closing will be the reverse capital gains. That only in the case that there's no difference between the assets, the house and the Bitcoin or of the crypto, there's not going to be reverse capital gains. But I believe in 99% of this is going to happen that someone is going to pay reverse capital gains.
Are you aware of other areas, countries, or parts of Mexico that are doing this at scale?
Well, Mexico City, Riviera Maya, as I mentioned. In the country, I'm not aware of any others. Probably big cities are doing it, like Monterrey probably is also doing it. Across the world, yes, we have a great example in El Salvador, it's actually the first country that has Bitcoin as an official currency. So yeah, that's a big example. But yeah, within the country, I could only tell you for sure about those places. Yeah.
If anybody has the interest, I haven't had the time to go and research how they're doing it. That's probably a very good way to go because they're very, very strict on law too, right? So they're probably one of the pioneers in the world right now doing any kind of legal transaction with crypto.
With the problem with Russia, that they lose the SWIFT code, they start having some problems regarding sending money out of Russia. So I believe the crypto start being like the way to transfer money from countries like that. And I believe the future is going to be that, like paying the SWIFT code, it's a lot of money, and these have better rates. So that's why we believe maybe not this year, but next year we will see more of that closings coming.
If you were to guess, it was 10, 15% more time to do a deal in Mexico City with crypto. What would you say here in Los Cabos?
Well, it will depend if it's a foreigner or not, because we would have to create their Mexican corporation.
Yeah.
That sometimes it's tricky because of getting the name and getting all the documents. But let's suppose they send everything on time and the website to get the names is working. I think we could maybe add 1 month to the regular closing process. Yeah.
Thank you. We're seeing more and more owner financing, the guaranteed trust route. Does this translate to that as well? So that, you've got these monthly payments. Is it all strictly cash when it comes to crypto? Or is there an element of both that you can do owner financing and get paid in crypto over a period of 5 years or however long that time would be? Thank you.
Well, in this case, the tricky part with the warranty trust is that since a financial institution is going to be holding the property, it's the same that with foreigners wanting to create a trust for hold the property, and we are finding the corporation as a solution for that. So here, a warranty trust will be complicated because someone has to hold the property. The bank is holding the property. Therefore, they need to be really sure with on how the payments are done because they have to execute the whole process. So I don't think that we will see in a near future a way to have a warranty trust and at the same time having an exchange just with crypto assets. The solution maybe can be if you have one part with crypto assets and the remaining with cash. Therefore, you can make a purchase and sale transaction, and for the remaining be holding by a trust institution. Therefore, the monthly payments or the yearly payments can be done on cash, and it will be easier to track it down in case that the buyer is not complying with all the obligations that they have. But this has to be really reviewed with the trust institution to make sure that they want to hold that, they want to participate in this warranty trust holding the property, knowing that the first contract that was celebrated was part paid with crypto assets because of the money laundering regulations that they have to follow. But yeah, I think that it could be a solution if it's half and half or something like that.
Any more questions? Yeah.
Have we had any examples of tokenizations of assets here in Mexico? I know that back in the day, like in 2017 to 2021, there was a big topic in Europe to basically tokenize assets. You can imagine it like basically taking an asset like a house, breaking it down into a stock, and everybody can invest into that stock, and you as well gain part of the upside when the value of the asset is growing, you as well growing your investment, obviously. So have we had any kind of efforts or intentions to have that made here in Mexico, or do you not know about any cases?
As far as we know, there's no regulation now that could allow that, because at the end, to tokenize a property must have a transfer of rights, and there's nothing similar. Maybe we could adapt a way to do it with a token out of Mexico, using maybe entities or maybe a trust, but here in Mexico, you cannot do it.
All right, any more questions? Thank you, thank you. This has been very valuable. A lot more questions, I think. And I'm excited to see the first crypto deal go down in Los Cabos.
Yeah, we're excited too. I think actually some of you brought us with some clients that were interested, so we had the talk and everything. In the end, it didn't go through. But it will. I mean, having already, I think it's 2 or 3 clients, at least to me, that have been interested. So I think it's a matter of time. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Stay cool out there. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nick Fong Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ronival Real Estate, and follow Nick on Instagram at NickFong_Ronival. Ready to find your Baja dream home? Check out the latest property listings at Ronival.com or findmexicohouses.com. Hasta luego.